Mine too. I made a typo.
Yeah, I think we got that.
I do.
Well, that's okay. I messed up on this little thing where we had to sign it and I didn't get the seal up there really well. And my August 9th is too far over. Larry, I didn't do nothing.
Huh?
I forgot to get Steve. But he didn't. It's a pretty.
Oh, yeah. Got it. Yep. Yep. Hey, Steve. Evening. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
So far, so good.
There you go. Hi, Steve.
Hi.
How's Steve?
Good.
Good.
You better practice again.
I can't catch it.
Cat catcher,
Can't catch it.
not dog catcher. And.
I'll get the note.
Yeah.
Might record, but I'm not.
Those are correct. Breakfast.
Grady, Grady.
And I was like,
Yeah, biscuits.
And it was sitting on the
Oh,
steam well, and I went to dip Grady and cut stuff down on it.
It hurt.
Didn't feel swell.
Did you swallow?
I
Feel it here?
cut. I think, I don't know. The matter is you throw less when you're in the kitchen late, you don't know how to do what you just did. So I didn't throw anything.
that was why.
Telling you what. I get caught carrying trash out all the time.
You just shouldn't be so good at what you do.
Lind, Bush and Linda's. That's all right.
You're a hard ass to follow.
Yeah.
You want? Mr. Shee, do you know where our customer activity reporters?
Well. Should be in there.
I don't know.
The last one is that.
Seems right up here because you're up there. $200,000.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting of the Solid Waste Commission for August 9th, 2022 to order. I will ask that, Larry Jameson, would you like to lead us in the pledge and the prayer, please?
I'll stand, please. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's pray. Dear God and Heavenly Father, it's again we come to you, thanking you for another blessed day. God, we ask that you be with us now as we go through the business of this Solid Waste Commission, conducted in a professional manner and be courteous to all. God, we ask that you watch over our firefighters, our police, our military, all the first responders. God, keep your comforting hand of over them, taking care of them. And these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
As we move on to number 2, Chairman's open comments, I just want to remind everyone that we are here for the meeting of the solid waste, and please stay focused on the solid waste and try to keep to the things that we have on our agenda tonight. All right, on item 3, we are on to items of public concern. So I have Kim Turner.
Can I pass out something?
Of course, that's fine.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
And if you don't mind, I need to, because I have to turn one shirt. Thank you.
If there's anybody else that would like a copy of it. My name is Kim Turner. I'm the owner of Tennessee Trash Service LLC. Back in 2019, we sold part of our business. We didn't sell the business, but we sold some routes, some assets, and part of our building to Waste Management. At that time, we were bringing in.
Can I interrupt you for just a second? Could you tell people a little bit more about yourself as far as your background in the solid waste business and how long
Sure.
you've been hauling stuff around the county and bringing stuff to Matlock Bend, and just give people a little bit better background about yourself and your
Sure.
business?
Sure. I've been in the waste business since I was 2. And so my parents started out in the waste business when I was, right after I was born, and been working in the waste business since I was young, always been around the business. My parents have owned several businesses in Virginia. They owned a business in Virginia. We sold that. That's how we ended up here in Tennessee. Worked for Waste Management for a little while, and then started a company here in Loudon County. And had a landfill facility that backs up to Tennessee National that we ran for many, many years, a C&D facility. So we have background in landfill as well. Been around the business my whole life. I'm in my 50s and still doing it. I started recycling in curbside recycling in the Knoxville area. We didn't have individual curbside recycling available, especially to the residents of Loudon County at all. So I started that here. We served on the Landfill Commission recycling platform that you guys had for a little while, several years ago, and not much of a public speaker, so I'm sorry. But so I have a lot of background in hauling landfill and have been in the business for many, many years. Started Tennessee Trash Service with one truck, one customer in 2004. Like I said, in 2019, we did sell off part of our routes and assets, but we retained the corporation. At that point, there's a copy of our landfill bill on the very back where we were bringing in approximately 9,000 tons a month into Matlock Bend landfill at the time that we sold out. We never stopped bringing trash into Matlock Bend landfill. We just drastically reduced the amount of tons that we bring in. We signed a 5-year non-compete to not compete locally here. That's why we don't bring very much unless it's within a pretty short distance of Loudon County Loudon landfill. But we only have 21 months left on our non-compete. And at the end of 21 months, we will be back picking up to serving the residents of Loudon County again for residential roll-off and commercial. We signed a contract back in 2008 with Santec Waste Services to bring waste into the Matlock Bend landfill. Kenny Fuquay was very nice to extend that to us, and it was a long-term contract that ran through the end of 2026, knowing that the landfill, that his contract with you all ran out shortly after that, 2027, middle of 2027. It had pricing in place, and it was tiered pricing based on, and there's a copy of the contract in here, the tiered pricing was based on the amount of tonnage that we brought into the landfill. The more we brought in, it got down to a rate of $21 if we brought in more than 700 tons a month, which we did fairly quickly. There were some provisions for increases in the contract over the years. Santec did not take those for many, many years. And so we signed a contract addendum, 2 different contract addendums that are included in there. One was to discuss how we were going to do increases, and they had to notify us on a certain date if there was going to be one that particular year, and they only extended one of those one time to us as an increase during that time period. And then the other was a provision for roll-off construction waste boxes, that C&D waste be charged by, had the option to be charged by the cubic yard. So all of that is attached. I didn't come to these meetings because, you know, I think Santec debated to alert everybody all through the years that we had a contract with them, as long as they had a contract with solid waste. And my understanding, even in reading everything in the newspaper that I read, was that this was a contract extension that was involving extending the time that they had, which obviously I was hoping that at some point Republic would extend that time to me, but mine ran out in 2026. And you know, my understanding that it was concerned about how much money you got from Republic. I didn't have any idea until I got a call from Republic that it had anything to do with pricing. So I got a new agreement from them for asbestos waste that we could not bring in any more asbestos waste until we signed a new contract. It was a 12-month contract. I said, I can't sign a new 12-month contract because we have a contract that runs through 2026. You sign a new agreement, it's going to void it and nullify what we already have. At that point, then I was informed about the $45 price tip fee, and that there was a possibility to have the lowest price possible would be $26, which would be with the state fees $27.25. My contract has the lowest price at $21, including the fees, which at that time were $1.15. You know, obviously we're not bringing in a lot of waste now, but in 2 years I fully plan on bringing in a lot of waste. Right now, you know, what is the benefit of us bringing in trash to Matlock Bend landfill? Well, at the end of the day, we have a contract, and signing a contract that changes that pricing interferes with the contract that we have with Republic Waste. You know, when Republic Waste bought Santec, they bought Santec fully, and therefore that land, they bought the contract that we had as well. But beyond that, you know, putting those tonnage rates at $45, that rate's not $45. That rate could be as much as $65, because it clearly says in the contract that I didn't have until about a week ago, and I looked at the contract extension that you all signed. It clearly states that Republic can charge the $45, plus they can charge any fee that they seem applicable for fuel and environmental fees. And every landfill that I go to, if you don't have a contract or some kind of an agreement, or they really want your waste, that fee is usually anywhere from $16 to $20 additional per ton at the landfill. So that $45 gate rate is going to be more like $65 to the local hauler that comes into the landfill. I know I'm beating something that's already been signed, but my problem is, like I said, at the end of the day, we have a valid contract, and changing the rate that we're going to have to pay interferes with the contract that we already have. But I just want to, like I said, quickly say that the $45 rate with a minimum of $27.25, I know, and I'm not trying to knock anybody But we've got that rate, we've got rates lower than $45 at multiple landfills in the area that I'm not taking any kind of tonnage numbers that are even close to what other people are bringing in, that are offered us with no contract. I mean, we're getting rates of 30, 32, 28, 27. I mean, people are wanting people's waste, and it's not a $45 rate plus a $20 fuel surcharge. So the problem is, it's not just me. On behalf of any of the local haulers that are going in there right now, when I sold the routes that I had in Lenore City, the rate immediately went up. And anybody that's got garbage service in the county knows, the rates went up anywhere from 30 to 40% within a year. They're right now over 50%, plus they're adding on a fuel surcharge, higher than what we were charging when we went out. Any of the local haulers, at what they're having to charge right now to make it, if the rate's gonna go up to $45 plus a fuel surcharge for these local haulers, they're gonna either have to go somewhere else, and the rate, and the waste isn't gonna come into your landfill, and then they're gonna still have to charge because they're gonna have to truck it somewhere else, or they're gonna have to utilize a transfer station, or they're gonna have to really go up on the people in Loudon County. Well, people are already strapped, so if they can't afford garbage service, this is gonna impact all the transfer stations as well, because if you can't pay $30 or $40 a month for garbage service, you're gonna start going to the transfer station, which means more waste is gonna come through the cities and cost the taxpayers even more money. So I guess my reason for being here is a different reason than at the end of the day, I mean, our impact is not just on the landfill. When we bring trash into the landfill, right now we've got 20 employees that are from Loudon County. All of them live in Loudon County, they're taxpayers in Loudon County. I buy all of my fuel in Loudon County. I purchase, when I say all, majority of my fuel in Loudon County. We buy the majority of our auto parts in Loudon County, we buy our office supplies in Loudon County, we eat in Loudon County, my office is in Loudon County, I pay property tax on all of our facilities, we buy trucks, we pay sales tax on those trucks, we register them in Loudon County. We, anything that you can think of, business tax, all of our business tax on any revenue for anything I'm doing outside of this area, even if it's as far away as Athens, Cleveland, it's all getting paid in Loudon County. So all of that money impacts Loudon County, but our impact when we do service this area, we had grown to over 100 employees. All of those people lived in Loudon County. All 75 trucks got registered in this county. All the sales tax went to this county. We pay all of our local utilities. We pay all of our business tax on all of the monies for all the revenues that we took in. And we were the only one going into Loudon County landfill at the time that is actually, and we still are right now, that are actually housed in Loudon County. I think Waste Connections has a satellite facility here, but they don't, I'm sure, register their trucks here. And I'm sure they pay very little tax in this county because most of it's gonna go through the remaining corporation, which is located in Knoxville. We were the only one that was actually located here in Loudon County. And so when we do go back in this area, the hope is to grow quickly and bring those customers, bring all these customers, be low cost leader, but also hire and grow and build more, bring in more tax revenue for the county. I just hope that you'll consider the contract that we have, and consider some kind of provision for that so that we don't have to get into any kind of legal litigation on behalf of that contract. So I appreciate your time, and I hope you'll look at it and consider it.
What was your name again?
Kim Turner.
Kim? Just so you know, the county was at a deficit with the present contract that we was under with Santec. And it was why that we went for an extension. And your contract is with Republic, so, you know, and I understand that you're in negotiation with them. But again, we have an obligation to the citizens of Loudon County to try to right side this up financially. And that's what we've done. And it's not a quick turnaround for the county. It's a slow process. And we thought we would have done the very best that we could do for the residents of Loudon County, which was all of Loudon County, businesses and all. Now, and again, I go back and say, I hear you, I understand you. We face the rate increases daily with fuel, labor cost, insurance, so forth and so on. We hear you. I'm hoping that Republic, Santec will sit down with you and do an open negotiation where they can see and talk with you.
I think they're willing to. Unfortunately, if you read the the extension says that without your approval, they don't have an option to go below the rates that you've set. So that's where we're at an impasse.
Well, one of the things that we did on that contract was the county and the three entities were finding that Sandtech was bringing in trash from other places that were having trash was hauling in at a lower rate than what the three entities were even having to pay. And when we negotiated with Republic, that was the one thing that the county had specified, and the cities also, that they wanted to make sure that the entities, Loudon City, Lenore City, and the county, all had the lowest rate of trash being brought in. Because we had Rome County bringing in trash cheaper than what we were having it hauled to the landfill. So that was one of those provisions that we had put in the contract.
Exactly, and it states that they get the lowest rate that is provided to anyone. The problem is, there's nothing that says they're gonna give the lowest rate to anyone, you know? So that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, not to jump in here, we don't get involved with vendor contracts.
Right.
That's between the vendor and Sandtech Republic. We've never been involved in vendor contracts, we've never reviewed vendor contracts, nor have we ever enforced them or dealt with them. What we do is, through this amendment, we set the floor rate and we set the gate rate, and we provided that Sandtech has an opportunity to negotiate with vendors for various discounted rates for waste, typically based on
Below the
volume.
floor?
Not below the floor, but that's something between you and Sandtech.
Right, but
We're not charging you anything. You have a contract with them. And if you have a contract dispute with them, I think you should talk with them first to try and resolve it.
We have talked to them, yeah, but
Well, they're here. I mean, I don't know if they want to come yet.
What you're trying to say is
they don't have the ability to rock and a hard place.
to go below our rate, is what you're saying.
Right, because
Well,
our contract is below the rate.
That's their responsibility to deal with you contractually, not ours.
Oh, I understand that,
And
but it
so-
says in there clearly too that you guys have the rate, have the option to approve any rates below. The way I read it.
Not below the governmental stakeholders.
No,
That's the way I read it, but.
well.
No.
Okay. Again, we hear you, we understand you very well. I wish rates didn't have to. I wish that our financials would reflect that. But there's nothing that we can do, and if we go to trying, because the amendment was clearly states that we were the base rates of the stakeholders. And that is where that would stand. I don't know.
The language does not,
The amendment doesn't specifically reference any vendor contracts.
No.
Nor does it void vendor contracts or talk anything about the enforceability. That's between the vendor and the operator. So this is, we're not gonna
Right,
say
like I
anything
said, the
about the
only thing was
contract.
there was a floor there, and then of course our contract goes below the floor, but it says in the contract that you all have the right, and that's why I went to you first before we had any type of, argument about this legally, because it puts us and Republic in a pickle, because at this point, it says we can't go below that, that's what the contract clearly says, but it does say in that contract, you all have the right to review that and give approval for anything below that floor when I read it. But, that's
Not below the governmental
into a
uses.
legal
It's-
dispute,
I
but,
would
It's
have
the
to read
approval,
that, because
yeah,
I didn't,
yeah.
I didn't.
that's the
reading
way,
the
way I read it, but at any rate, like I said, signing something that interferes with the contract that we have is contract interference.
This doesn't
But
interfere
that
with
one is
anything.
interference
That's
with
not
the
us,
rates
that's
that,
public.
that we had.
I can assure you that's Republic's responsibility. If they have a contract, they have to abide by their
But
contract.
they can abide by something that they would get
They
in trouble, that
can.
they would,
They can.
because
They
of
can.
the contract, they have to
They
be.
They surely can.
Okay,
They can, that's their,
okay, we can get that on record that they have the ability to do that, then
That
that
is-
should be an easy fix for all of us.
they can't go below our stakeholder rates, period.
Right, so that, therefore that,
If they wanted to pay the difference and let you in at that rate, that's between you and them.
That's right.
Not us.
I know.
That's what they're saying.
They're right here, if you want to respond. Do you guys have a response at this point?
I mean, we've already been talking to Ms. Turner
Okay.
many times before going public and going in front of everyone, so again, I think, like, I sent Ms. Turner an email on the first saying, hey, we value you as a customer, we're gonna work this out. We're holding all of your rates exactly as they are for now until we have a chance to get together and figure it out. So.
So, and it sounds like there is no issue if they're holding your rates.
They are for right now, so we just wanted to make you aware and see if there was a possibility for us to get an exception for our contract, that's all.
That would be with them.
Okay.
So that they can
Then
approve
they have
that.
the ability to do that, then we're
Have
great.
the ability.
If we did that, then we would be interfering with our contract with them.
What was the contract extension, right, true,
Yeah.
so, yeah, not the original contract, but, anyway, okay, that sounds great, well, we'll proceed then.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you, thank you.
Kim, I have one question for you. I'm just curious, as far as when you're looking at your routing, in terms of trying to define your service area, what's your general rule of how far out do you go from the landfill? And
Well, most landfills are within 20 miles of wherever we're hauling something, so usually they're within 20 miles, 25 miles, something
Okay.
like that, because there's landfill facilities, we use 44 landfill facilities all over the area, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, especially gas at what it is, so we don't want to go any further than that usually, so.
Right, thank you.
Alright, Richard? I think that's what it says.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a couple of quick things. In the letter for payment for this month, it says the tipping fee to bills is only $112,000 based on 4,320 tons. And yet, go back a couple pages, and there's 12,000 tons. So what's something wrong with this letter? Because the upper part looks like correct, this is $340,000 worth of post fees. It's just something wrong with the total tonnage receipt. See what I'm saying?
I think it could be because they prorated between July
No, no,
1.
no. The next one down, 4,000 tons, security fee,
Yeah,
4,320.
yeah, okay, there does appear to be that.
This sheet says 12,979. Where'd the other 8,000 go?
It does appear in there.
Has nothing to do with the prorating.
Got it. We'll have them address that.
I'm not asking you to, I'm just pointing out that there seems to be a mistake here, right?
Yes.
Don't disagree, that's what we're saying, we'll have them address it.
Yeah.
The other one that I would like to point out, I guess you probably know what it means. The bonds for 8.4 million, what happened to 13.2? They're both Kevin, you and our local county lawyer concluded that we were gonna get a $13.2 million loan.
The bond is foreclosure, not post-closure.
And this committee sold the county 13.2, did you not? That's what I heard.
No, it was the
Every-
liability, not the bond. There's two different parts of it.
Your information. Bob? What's his last name, Pat? County lawyer.
Bob Bowman.
Bowen, I'm sorry. Both had this, resulting expenditures by Santec of 13.1 million. Doesn't say closure, does not say post-closure, it says 13.1. And if you recall last month, I asked that same question, what happened to that language in the contract? The other part of that,
The distinction is they're only obligated for post-closure for closed portions of the landfill during the landfill
correct,
term.
so if any of those cells get closed, 27, 34, 36, 38, they're covering the closure, post-closure while they're operating.
Correct.
I'm not sure that's covered in that 8.4 letter that we got from TDEC, I don't know. Right? I think it's.
We're gonna communicate with TDEC about that.
Yeah. The other part of that letter is the 580,000 for operational costs, and you pointed out to me when we were sitting here, you look at item number 3 under that chart, it says for so many tons a day, 30 days, and that's how you get to the 580. Well, if it's post-closure, there shouldn't be any charge other than the 4 million that's above it. So I'm not sure what that,
I agree, I think there needs to be some
there's
resolution
gotta
to
be
that.
some clarification there.
Yes, and that is on the agenda to address with them.
But going back to the 8.4 versus 13.2, you originally had a 1 million operational fund in case they ever walked away, right? Now they've taken that up to 8.4, which encompasses that 1 million. Are you satisfied that they're rolling that in to the 8.4?
Not necessarily.
Or should it be 9.4? That's the other side.
That's a point for discussion.
Oh, sorry.
That is a point for discussion.
Okay. Just my observations.
And good ones,
Absolutely.
and good ones.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
So you'll be getting with
The meeting.
Republic
And TDEC
and TNEC.
to address some of this.
We'll discuss it.
Okay.
All right, we will move on to item 4, approval of the July 12th,
That's what
2022 minutes.
Kelly, there's no ordinance report in this package.
What?
There's no customer activity report in this package.
For July?
We have that?
Already brought that to Mr. Stevens'
I'm
attention.
sorry.
Already brought it to Mr. Stevens' attention that we are missing a summary of customer activity report. It's not in our package.
Republic, you guys?
Like, we provided that question was asked ahead of the meeting, we provided a response to that. On that particular document, if you'd like us to speak to it, we can.
Why don't we approve the minutes and then,
Yeah,
Sure.
all right, I need a motion to approve the minutes, or we have discussion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Bivens,
Second.
and, Mr. Stewart as a second.
and I
All
would
right,
like,
we'll have, discussion on them.
I would like to make some amendments, please.
Yes, I have some too, go ahead.
Okay, the first one will be minutes, Loudon County Solid Waste Disposal Commission, instead of June 4th, you can strike that and put July 12th. The second correction will be under the first motion. to approve the June 14th, strike July 12th meeting minutes. Under the next motion, ask for a motion to approve the agenda, which would have been July 12th. And under the motion, Chairwoman Ms. Littleton Brewster asked for approval, disapproval of the operating contract amendment. I would like to insert the actual name of the instrument that we approved, which is the second amendment to the sanitary landfill operation agreement. So everyone knows specifically it was that instrument. And in the vote, it said passes 6-1. I would like for it to specifically say that Ms. Hunter voted nay. And under the motion, Chairwoman asked for a motion to approve, disapprove the receiving of sludge from the city of Madisonville. If you would please note, motion passes 6-1. Mrs. Hunter opposed. Please put Ms. Hunter voted nay. Those are all the corrections that I see.
Those are all appropriate.
So I would like to amend, unless, are there any other corrections,
No,
Madam Chair?
you have another?
No, I had page 2.
There
Is
isn't.
there anyone else who has anything to amend on the minutes?
I had one on a name, it's Miss Vreeland instead of Miss Pandora. Vreeland, I believe.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Is there any other art? Do you have any?
Under the Miss Greer comment, you might want to capitalize Republic.
Other chart? Okay. All right, if there are no more corrections, and all those in favor of approving the minutes as with corrections, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. Alright. Minutes for July the 12th have passed. Approval of the August 9th, 2022 agenda. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
If we want to add an item, can we do that now, or?
We have to make a motion. Second.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, just ball roll.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the August 9th agenda, a second,
Second.
and we have a second. Discussion, do you need to move one, Steve?
What I want to do is bring up a topic for discussion, just to get people thinking about the major permit mod that's likely to be coming before us.
Okay. You want under new business?
Sure.
I would like to add 2 items, please, under the attorney. I think we spoke about this, Mr. Attorney, with regards to the process to approve invoices, the Poplar Spring invoices. I would like to discuss that.
Okay.
And also the performance bond. And I think we're going to be discussing the customer activity report, so I'm not going to mention that. But those 2 items, so we could put them under your name.
It's fine.
All right, any other corrections? So we have have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for August 9th with said revisions. All those signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, our agenda has been approved. All right, agenda item number 6, inquiry about selling the Purdy Brothers house. I think, Larry, you asked for that to be on the agenda.
Hit me with your name again.
Jason Cooper.
Jason Cooper.
Yes, sir.
Him and his fiance came by the office and talked with us after talking with Mayor Harris and wanted to inquire about the Purdy house that we have down there, not the Purdy Brothers house now, the Purdy house. And I had informed him that this commission had brought this to a vote once before of not selling the house of the property. And I did tell him I would put it on the agenda and bring it back before the commission to see if there would be any interest in possibly selling it. And my opinion, and I'll be quite honest, I'm against selling it, but I did fulfill my promise in bringing him in before the committee to see what you all thought.
Well, I think right now on that property, we are in a
It's presently leased out to
Leased
the
out
Loudon
to
County
the-
Rescue Squad
rescue squad is using it for a facility to train.
training.
And they are also keeping it mowed off and, because that was an issue we had with it too, just keeping it mowed off. So why are you inquiring to buy the property?
I want the house. I looked at it, it's a nice old house, it has a lot of potential. Looks like it's been sitting empty for a long time, and frankly, it's a shame to let the house like that sit. We live in a neighborhood that, is not a very good neighborhood. We live in the Jackie White Estates. And,
Okay.
you know, it's, we wanna get away from there, and we wanna own our own piece of property. He had mentioned that the concern for the landfill was one of his biggest issues, and if it was an issue with like us living there, there would be no issues. We would, you know, we wouldn't be any type of threat to the landfill in any kind of way. We just wanna bring the house back to life and live in it. We don't wanna flip it, we don't wanna try to make money on it, we want to live in the house. We're really not even interested in the whole 5 acres that comes with the property. You know, we want the house maybe down to the road. You know, we just want the house. You know, there's no ulterior motive behind, you know, wanting it other than remodeling and living in it.
Remind me of something, Larry, did the Purdy house not have some issues though at one time? Was it sewage or some kind of issues?
It's got issues. It had a well,
Okay.
originally, and I think, I'm not sure, I believe Santec put water in at one point, city water, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
But it, again, it's a house that's set, over 20 years?
As I think the paper says it's been empty since '83 or something
80.
like that.
But I thought
So,
there was some kind of issue with there was some kind of sewage issue, something that there were some kind of issues with it, is one reason why it had sat too.
well, again, being adjacent to the landfill that close,
Yes.
and water runoff into that area, and just a whole lot of issues of someone living that close to the proximity of the landfill brought us great concern. That's why this commission, before me, most of us bought that. Steve, you remember back in the day.
Mhm.
When it comes to stuff like the, well, if they did indeed bring in city water, of course, I would never try to run well water because of the sewage, the runoff from the landfill. It is gonna contaminate that ground, and I would never drink that water. You know what I mean?
Well, and you said it yourself, the possibilities of contamination. Now, that's not
Right.
supposed to be an
Absolutely.
issue, but that was one of the reasons that this commission bought that property, was to protect it
Right.
and protect people from it, so. unless someone has, some positive for it, I mean, I would be at a no vote.
My
Yeah.
hardest thing is we just turned down family members that wanted to purchase it.
Exactly.
Just a
Maybe you
few
guys are
months ago.
waiting for me to come around.
That one's kind of hard.
We would love to have you
Right.
in any way we can, but we don't feel it's in the best interest of this commission to put that property back up for residential.
It is what it is. I figured we'd try it out, see what happens, you know?
Well, we do appreciate you coming.
I thank you guys for your time.
And like Ms. Gibbons said, that we did have some people come and had inquired about buying it, who at one time owned it.
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
they did want to buy it, and we did vote not to.
yeah, I mean, I can't compete
And I
with
do have
that,
to-
you know, the only thing that I could do is offer you cash, you know, and buy the house, but,
Well, and I
Yeah.
guess I do need to put it on the floor to see if we have anyone who would like to make a motion or anything to sell that property.
Do what now?
I'm checking to see if we have a motion to
Oh.
sell the property. I'm giving everyone an opportunity.
I share the same liability that Mr. Jameson has. I am very concerned about the liability issue.
Yeah.
And I would not want small children growing up on that property. That is just me.
yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, I don't want them having 3 eyes and stuff like that out of
Well,
there.
and I think the minutes will speak for themselves, but I think there were some environmental issues also. That's the reason why it was purchased.
Yeah.
So I personally would not want to put anyone at risk.
Were the environmental issues from the dump contaminating the home or the home contaminating the dump?
I would have to go back and look at the minutes, but I think there were environmental issues with the well water.
Uh-huh.
And I think some chemicals, were they not?
So from what I can recollect, I don't know if there's ever city water run to it, I don't, or if it's on well water, probably.
They were
But a couple
well
things in
watered
terms
one
of
time.
in terms of the landfill and how it's impacting the local environment. For a while, we were sampling, TDEC compelled us to sample a spring on property. And the spring had, I think it was, one of the chlorinated solvents, trichloroethylene or something like that in it.
That's right.
I guarantee there's something there.
However, when they cleaned up all the junk from around the spring, I think it was cars and scrap iron and a bunch of junk essentially. Once the junk all got cleared up, we continued sampling the spring and it cleared itself up. So TDEC dropped the requirement for, after we did that for a number of years, TDEC dropped the requirement. to
Didn't they
sample
move the
spring.
monitoring well also?
That was a general move to change one of the wells, but all the groundwater wells that we have around the landfill have always been relatively clean. There hasn't been any issues to speak of. The spring clearly had some issues. Again, once they cleared up all the junk that was around it, the samples cleared up.
If there isn't any city water attached to the house that brings city water into the home, would that eliminate some of the issues that you would be having with toxicity?
I personally would think that we would have to make an assessment of the property, but I still would be fearful of the liability. Mr. Attorney, do you have an opinion here?
I would agree with you on the liability concerns.
So right now, we're showing no motion on the floor.
It's always next year.
Thank you for
I thank you guys for your time. Thank you. Come on, guys.
All right, we will move on to item 7, attorney's report. Attorney.
This first item, under my report, this has been a request from Republic, and I'll let them speak to it more specifically, but my general understanding is that as we proceed towards a contract modification, TDEC has asked that we specifically authorize Santec Republic to communicate directly with TDEC and collaborate in that process. It doesn't authorize, the intent is not to authorize them to change anything, nor does it take away our approval authority ultimately for the permit modification under the contract. But I think my understanding is that the intent is just so that engineering folks can communicate and collaborate as we move through this process. But I'll let you guys, if you have anything to add.
No, I think you said it really well. I think our letter, oh, sorry, you're stuck with me tonight. David's out on vacation, so apologies for that. Our letter really says any changes to airspace or dollars or any like specific details or footprint, anything like that would come back before you all before we do that. There's a lot of back and forth with TDEC related to many technical details, big and small, where to put this boring, what this groundwater level says. And TDEC's just looking for some, saying, yes, you as the commission approve us to have those technical conversations with them. So that's really what the desire is here. If we don't do that, there's no way we get through this permit mod process in less than 5 years. So that's the other option on it.
So how do we need to address that
I guess just
as a motion though, but how does that need to be formed?
I think something of the nature of approving Republic to communicate with TDEC regarding technical issues for the major permit modification. However, the approval does not change their contractual obligations relative to our approval rights.
Could we throw in maybe like a monthly update on conversations that have been held?
I think that's
Just
a good
where
idea.
they are with the process, what's a brief summary of
I think that is good.
the discussions
Mhm.
would probably be the
Yeah, that's
appropriate way
great.
to word that. Just so we're up to date on everything in case TDEC were to need information.
All of the records where Republic is having a discussion with TDEC, those would be public records also. From a perspective of having the records here in Loudon County, I would like for the Solid Waste Commission to be copied. So we have copies at the county office building of the entire process.
Could we not include those like on the monthly update that we just have those copies? Those
Sure.
items as
Black
a
and
monthly
white.
update instead of,
Sure, there's certainly are gonna be some impromptu phone conversations and other things like that, so there won't be formal record of those items, but any written communication or correspondence, happy to copy you all in, or however you would like to see that succinctly summarized and provided to you.
And I'm sure TDEC will have that also, but if you can make it available and we don't have to go through TDEC and we're automatically copied. So that makes it to our records.
I would think a monthly report with just kind of a packet of the communication would probably be helpful.
Status report
Yeah.
of
the
the,
status summary report
right,
or?
that's exactly what we need. And that needs to be black and white. And electronically, if that's what you want to do, but I'd like to see a black and white hard copy of that. That way we have it in our records.
Okay,
It's
you
a long motion.
I'll still let you read it. Somebody's gonna
I think the proposed language would be to approve for Republic to communicate with TDEC regarding technical issues associated with major permit modification. However, this approval does not impact the commission's contract rights for approval or disapproval of any changes. As part of this approval, we will expect a monthly update on communication with TDEC, and that written communication with TDEC shall be made available in a summary report. Got all that?
No.
It's recorded.
He's got it. He's got it written down, what are you doing? Okay. Who would like to say, who would like to make that as a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Can't read it again.
Yeah.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Stevens, a second, whichever gentleman you want to take. All right, all those,
Who are we giving the second to?
are
said Steve, I don't care.
Oh, Art said Steve, Steve said Art.
We'll give
so-
give it to Steve, since he
There you
hasn't
go.
got one
There you
slot.
Okay. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Okay.
All right, motion passes.
Number
That big
one.
long one.
Yeah.
So,
Number two, Ms. Hunter wanted to include a brief update or discussion regarding the process for approval of invoices for Poplar Springs.
I think that goes back
That,
to long time ago,
yeah, that's something that we
and,
have discussed over the years. Do you wanna address it, or?
well, I mean, the thing to address on Poplar Springs invoices is, number one, we don't have any control over expenditures, or all we do on solid waste is we hold that solid waste, that money from Poplar Springs. We don't have any control over any of those expenditures. There were 2 resolutions done between Loudon City, Lenore City, and Loudon County that gave, and was voted on, that gave Loudon County Mayor permission to handle all maintenance and repairs to Poplar Springs. The only thing that this commission has done, and Steve, if you remember correctly, was we got to see those invoices as they passed by us. But we have no power to stop or to control any kind of spending on that. Now, they have asked us, the accounting department has asked that, since it is part of where the fund sits is solid waste, that the chairman signs off on those invoices too. And I have, since I have been chairman on this commission, when I sign off on any invoice, I always have Mr. Jameson as our vice chairman sign off also.
And I'll add just a little history to this. This was something we'd been concerned about years ago, is we were not given information regarding what was going on at Poplar Springs. Our only involvement was the expectation that the money in that sub-fund or sub-account might be used to pay for expenditures at Poplar Springs. We were very uncomfortable with that for a long time, and in fact had offered to take over the project, but that was never given to us. So we put in place a protocol a number of years ago, basically saying we weren't going to vote to approve invoices because we were not involved in the contracting and the procurement and the negotiation or determination of the scope of work.
I think we also offered to give the money back to the
Yeah.
county so they could manage.
Tried to get
Yeah.
the money back.
That's
And the
And
mayor
so-
was the one that said, no, it needs to stay in the accounting department.
So essentially, we were in the dark as to what was going on and have remained so, other than,
Don't say we were
To some
completely, because I have always tried to give a report.
no, what I'm saying is, as to contracts and negotiations,
No.
all we were given is invoices.
Yeah.
And so we were not comfortable approving or voting to approve anything when we didn't have any authority over the scope of work or the contract. So that has been the protocol for many years. What we historically had done was ask that the county mayors for the 3 stakeholders sign the invoices. And once we had written signed invoices from the 3 stakeholders, we would then sign, not approving the work or disapproving the work, but merely acknowledging that the work had been done and billed for, and that it was appropriate to pay out of the solid waste sub-fund.
And then that was changed with the Loudon City Mayor and Council, and Lenore City Mayor and Council gave the county mayor the responsibility.
Exactly.
To
So
do that.
based on those resolutions, the Lenore City and Loudon City mayors deferred that to the county mayor. And so now the protocol as it stands is that the county mayor signs and approves the invoices acknowledging the work was done and submits them to us for processing.
This Popular Springs, I've been again it for years. And I know without a doubt that it would get misconstrued at the county commission level as it is right now.
Yep.
We're following protocol to the letter. If the mayor doesn't sign off on it, Kelly don't acknowledge it, and I don't acknowledge it. We have no control over Poplar Springs, ever had control.
Is there any way that we can open discussion with the county and ask them to transfer the money from our fund to theirs?
We've
Since
already asked
really, I know, but I think it's time to ask them again, because
And I'd be perfectly on board with that, Pat.
I think it's time
I
that we
think it's
refuse
time to
sign
do this, because to me,
on our business.
Well, I won't agree to that. I will not agree to, it's time for us to refuse to
No.
sign off on invoices, because the bottom line here is there was leakage out there, there was a problem. The problem was there was a letter sent to the county mayor November of 21 that stated we had 60 days to get it fixed out there.
We the county, not
We
this
the
commission.
county, not this
We the
commission.
county, not
We
this
the
commission.
county.
I'll be real
Yes,
clear.
because I wanna make sure that is clear. That was the county had 60 days to get it fixed. And the leakage had been there since the beginning, couldn't get it dried up, they couldn't get it dried up. So TDEC says it's got to be done, it's got to be fixed. So
In the best
saying
interest,
to stop that, I don't want to, because now it is fixed, it is dry. And I do wanna state before I signed off on that invoice, I did walk out there, address it, and look at it with Chris Parks, and it is dry. That spot is dry.
I will say this, and I will stand on it day in and day out. I would love to give the money back to the county. They can put it over on the side in a sub-fund, however they would want to do it. That gets the confusion away. Or give us, the commission, total control.
Well, and then you need to go back and think too.
If
Do
we
you
did that,
want to go into, cause you have because the mayor has a contract, the three entities have a contract with TDEC, the landowner, Chad Newton,
Mhm.
to maintain and monitor and fix that for the next 10 years. I think we have maybe 4 or 5 left.
I would strongly encourage,
And I would not agree to,
Take it over.
I would strongly,
Take it
not
over.
now,
because
because it's
they,
not been our project.
yes,
It's a little late in the game.
But somehow or another, a representative from this commission has been there. So again, it looks like, it walks like it's a landfill issue. And it's not with this solid waste commission. It's with the county.
but I will say.
And you've done your due diligence and done a good job at it.
Well, and my due diligence is to the people of the Piney community too, that live in that area, that have wells. And the ultimate thing was that leakage had to be stopped. I mean, it had to be fixed.
Well, I agree.
And they still have 25,000, a little more than 25,000 left in the fund.
I agree with Ms. Hunter that if she or someone else is willing to reach out to the county to re-engage in that discussion, to give them the money back, to get us out of the middle of this.
I
because-
think since they have the 10-year agreement, we were not even a party of that agreement, that I think that the county should seriously consider having the money also in order to do what they are required to do.
I will agree with you on that, except for I will say one thing, we did discuss that with them, and I think it was an accounting issue, that the comptroller made the determination with Tracy, and you can go back and check it with her and see,
on me, I might be wrong, but I believe that it was a comptroller issue is the reason that that fund had to stay where it was too.
No, I don't think that's, from what I can recollect, I don't think that's exactly true.
Well, like I said, I'm
but
not sure,
Yeah,
but I think it
it's-
was an accounting issue.
I
mean, it
Whether
was
it's,
not-
whether it's under our name or some other county entity, I don't, as long as the money's accounted for and managed, according to the rules that's supposed to be managed under, I don't think it matters which entity is managing it, to the point that, somebody go back to the county and see if we can, offer up the money and get them to take it. I think that's
I feel at this point, the county would probably be more than happy to.
Yeah, I kind of, with all the grief that they have went through, that might be not a bad idea.
I feel
Well,
like they would
since
be
the
happy to-
comptroller is looking at this issue, why don't they look at the issue of taking the funds, giving it to the appropriate body that's handling everything else to see if it's just a technicality of us transferring money that's left to them so they can finish their obligation, because we're not obligated.
Right.
And it's unfair that
Exactly.
that we're sort of caught in the middle, we can't approve it, or although I feel we should, on all invoices. But since we're not doing that, I think the county commission should look at this. This is between them and the two other stakeholders, we're out of the game here.
Exactly.
Agreed.
So if you would give me the permission to talk to them and see if we can come to a
Why don't we make
Who are
a
you?
motion for the next chairperson to approach the county commission concerning this issue with support of this commission, whoever would like to go, and try to get this resolved and get it handed over to the county.
Are you making that in the
I will
form of a
make that
motion?
in form of
And
a
I'll
motion.
second it.
Did you write that down?
And I feel like the chairperson is the one who needs to go, because I'll be honest, I would not feel comfortable signing anything if I were in that position after the last news articles.
Well, the one thing that we don't want to do is deviate from the process that's been put in place and has worked.
Well,
For many years.
let's do this, we have a motion on the floor, let's get a second.
I second it.
Here we go.
You did.
Alright. You got it?
Yep.
You want to read the motion back?
Motion for the next chair to meet with the county commission and request that solid waste provide all remaining funds in the Poplar Springs sub-fund to the county for use at Poplar Springs.
That you're meeting with us, it has to be with the mayor,
Mayor, excuse me, yeah,
not the county commission.
you're right. Okay.
Read it again.
Motion for the next chair to, next commission chair to meet with the county mayor and request that the commission provide remaining funds in the Poplar Springs sub-fund to the county for use at Poplar Springs. We good there?
Correct.
You have a motion on the floor. All, and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Okay.
Alright, motion passes. What? You're still up.
As to the third issue on the performance bond, I agree there's some issues that need to be evaluated and discussed with TDEC to make sure that the bond is appropriate, because there are, there originally was a separate $1 million bond. Now that $1 million bond has been converted to an roughly $8.4 million bond for closure. But I want to get with TDEC and get a little bit more comfortable about that process. So let's make that as an open item for further discussion.
But we do have a performance bond in place for 8.4.
Yes. That is in the packet, and the exact,
Mine?
yes, I'm trying to get the exact amount. $8,474,341 is currently in place.
So the $1 million bond that we had before was what I would call a general performance bond. And this new instrument essentially is the bond to cover closure. So are we still, I don't recall anything in the contract
No, no,
eliminating the general performance bond.
no, and there's a couple issues, because TDEC has updated, one, we didn't agree to negate that bond.
Right.
And then two, TDEC has included with its late, January 19th, 2022 financial assurance letter, an amount of $580,500 for operation costs, which I just think we need some clarity as to what that is, why it's included, because that had not been in past financial assurance. And so whether that either needs to be eliminated by TDEC or included as part of the bonded obligation is something I want to look into.
So just for clarification, the post-closure of 4 million, whatever, that is still going to be with the county?
I expect that we're gonna discuss that with TDEC, and I wanna see a couple things. One, if in fact that is the right number, because it went up dramatically. And two, there may be some alternatives for us to pledge our funds as opposed to the county.
Okay, because I would like.
Yeah, because, I mean, we did say that $8 million bond, 13 million, that up to
Yes.
would be taken off of the county.
The intent was to remove the county, so I think we'd have an opportunity.
And that was the one point that they wanted more than anything, and even though after all the finascal that has been done, I feel like that we need to stick by what we said. So if we do have to pledge the money that we have,
We pledge our funds to cover that.
So what I'm hearing is they got 8.4 million, we got 4 something million. That makes close to $13 million.
yeah,
So
but that
is
was not.
that how we're looking at that? That ain't the way we was looking at that.
Well, I think what Mr. Anklin is referring to is the summary that was prepared by the Solid Waste Commission. And in the bullet 4,
Well, we agree with that. We
Yes,
agree, we
that-
sold it to the county as the 13 million. What we're
Performance
asking
bond.
is Republic back here, if that's the way that we all saw it, was 13 million.
I have to look at the numbers specifically, but how it's set up is the responsibility for closure falls to us as the operator
Right.
on everything, so the performance bond covers that entire liability for closure of all of themselves.
But when TDEC, and Kevin hit me here, when TDEC come out with a new number, we went from something,
It went from 8 million to
8
13
million to
million.
$13 million. Okay, there was no negotiations with us about taking our $4 million, putting it with your $8.4 million. That's kinda how it looks right now, because TDEC said 13 something million dollars.
For closure and post-closure.
Right.
They did two things. One, they changed the form of what it looked like. It used to be one line item of financial assurance, and it was roughly $8 million. This last year, there are now 3 line items that went up to $13 million.
Right, and that's what we sold folks on. Republic Santec was gonna get a $13 million performance bond.
So we should definitely talk about that more and get iron out first with TDEC and then here. It was pretty clear, I think, through all of the negotiations and discussions that responsibility for closure was for Republic.
Yes,
Responsibility for post-closure care is with the commission.
well, and Republic during the course of it.
And Republic during the court, yes, as long as
Contract,
the landfill is active, yes, absolutely, yeah. So,
We just need to talk through that
A
issue.
little bit more.
Well, I'm saying, you're looking at a pot here and it's black. I mean, we sold a black pot, okay? So we need to have some definite answers by the next.
We either need TDEC to adjust its numbers, or we need to have some adjustment on the bond.
Because the performance bond right now lies with Santec Republic. Am I correct?
Yes,
For the full amount,
for the closure obligation.
closure obligation.
Right.
Okay.
But the liability that I think we all agreed to is that
It's
the liability is
13 million, yeah, we all
Yeah.
agreed to $13 million liability. Yeah.
It's the distinction, there's no question that they're contractually obligated for all of closure and post-closure during the contract term.
Mhm.
The question is, to what extent is that bonded as a secondary?
You understand?
I want a $13 million performance bond,
I don't think.
bottom line.
We'll talk through it.
Okay.
Just like that,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, I might be up next, so I might just hang out.
Would you like that seat?
Okay. On to the chairman's report, invoices, yes, I have invoices, many invoices. I will pass these this way, and you pass them that way.
Art, can you pass this? I borrowed Larry's pen.
Okay.
It was too nice, Larry.
There are,
You don't like my pen?
I said it was too nice, I almost kept it.
No, that's what I give it to you for. You might want to call me or something.
there are two different invoices for the attorney on this one too. So one is for June, one is for July. We have Tennessee Risk Management Insurance that is on here too.
Do you have a dollar amount on the risk management insurance?
Yes, it is on there. Says the premium's 4,603.
4,600.
3.
Right.
So one comment on the insurance, the board's talked about looking at doing something different. And if the board did want to do something different, we probably need to start that process now. Because come December, they'll be looking for, hey, we need to get this done for January and get it turned in and so on and so forth. So again, just a comment that if the board wants to look at some different insurance option, we need to start that process.
I mean, maybe, it might not be a horrible idea to price it out. That doesn't sound like an unrealistic amount, but.
Well, and you do get it says the premium, you get a 2% discount.
Is this something that Susan Husky could help us with?
Susan Husky does do.
That's what this is, yeah.
But bidding it out.
This has to do with Tennessee Risk Management, and I
It's
think there's, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Go
pull, yeah, no, I did, you
Go
probably know
ahead,
it.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, it's pulled through counties across the state. I don't think we're gonna beat that.
No, no. And I believe there's, like, the county has their section that they pay, and then
So it's
there's
like a
another
direct
set.
policy.
Yeah, it's kinda like that.
Cause
So-
I think we used to have a private policy, didn't we, Steve?
I don't know.
Has it always been risk management?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember. I think we adjusted the coverages, maybe that's what it was. We looked at we had coverage for things we didn't own and.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
trimmed down based on the checklist that they sent, I think we trimmed it down, but I think the biggest question for the board every year when we get the new invoice is, well, what did we pay last year? What's the delta between last year and this year? To me, I think that seems pretty close to what we paid last year, probably.
And I will let you know, before you look at this, it does say the premium to be paid by 7/10 at a 2%, to get the 2% discount. Well, yes, it is past 7/10, but we do get the 2% discount. There was an issue with the email with Susan Husky. She got in touch with them, they got it straightened out, and so we did get the 2% discount. So I didn't want anybody to not be aware of that. Okay, and it's got the commission pay, it's got, the attorneys for June and July, and risk management insurance invoices, okay? Alright, the next thing I have on there is just a county commission update. I had a couple of things I needed to update you on too. One is, it's very sad to say, but, as you notice that we are one short tonight, I got an email from Terry Small that he has resigned off of the Solid Waste Commission. And I think it's very sad. I thought he was a good fit for this commission. His email did state that he felt like when county commission voted to try to remove the 5 county representatives and were not successful in doing so, that it showed that they lacked no confidence in us. So therefore, that was one of his main reasons for resigning. So the mayor is aware that he has resigned, and so is Mr. Satterfield, which is from Greenback, who had recommended Terry to this board. So I want you to be aware of that. I do not know at this time who Mayor Bradshaw has decided that will be replacing me on this board too. So now it looks like it's got 2 to replace. I will let you know, County Commission met the other night. They had a few statements to make, something about there would be some changes coming soon, or we would be seeing something on solid waste. So just be aware that there are some things that they are looking at. They are still not happy that we approved the extension. I guess that's about all my update I have for that.
I must have found some faith in us. Oh, one of them here.
They don't need me.
They must trust us right now.
Yeah, no comment on that one.
Hold your breath there, Jim.
Yeah. Alright, on to number 9. No, did I miss everything? No, number 9, let's get it out of the way, Larry.
All right, Mr. Republican Secretary.
There's a reason why he went on vacation,
Yeah,
and
smart.
Adam's not even here.
Smart guys, right?
Can I put in a formal request to bring Adam back?
Adam is still here, so
Not much.
Well, I received a phone call from David that he was the point of contact for me not to call Adam no more. And the reason was I called is because there's mud in the road. Now, we have been down this pipe many, many times. And when you change the guard at Loudon facility, it's a proven fact that it gets worse. And I ain't saying that the guy there now is, I don't know him, I think, is it Eric? Is that his name?
still the same team that's been there, so
Well,
still
yeah.
Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff's still our guy there,
When I drive down through there and there's mud in the road, I expect to get reaction. Adam always responded. When I find out that trucks are being backed in the mud now, rather than dumped off the gravel, they're tracking mud out. When I find out trucks are coming down the hill and not going through the wheel wash or going through the wheel wash, and that it's a mess on the other side of the wheel wash, they go from mud back to mud. Well, the residents that live in that area down there, me being one of them, I pass by there daily, twice a day, sometimes 3. And it costs me to clean my vehicle. I also, along with Kelly, along with Tammy, receive phone calls
Oh, yeah.
from constituents here in this county. When I sit up at the Stop and Shop and I watch the trucks roll in and mud dripping off, I've got pictures of mud, chunks of mud, not little droppings. It creates a problem. And you folks straighten this out with Adam. It's not straight right now. We got a red line down there. It's not completely red, it's red and gray mixed, but yous know better. Maybe you need to receive the phone calls from the general public. Maybe you need a hotline, backman phone or something. But you've got to get this under control. The only way we got it under control the last time was we put you on notice. Our contract calls for reasonable effort. Am I correct, Kevin?
It does.
And I could say you're doing a reasonable effort right now, but that's not what we've been getting. You spoiled us. Adam spoiled us. Take this as constructive criticism and get it fixed, please.
On that same point, I'm gonna chime in because when I received my phone call, it infuriated me. This commission, you all knew the heat we took. You saw the heat we took. Serious heat. You may not even know about some of it.
I hope David told you some of it.
And for the road to be a mess right after that was a smack in the face. So if you want to fix that, we would be very much obliged. And Adam has done a wonderful job. And I've always been able to contact him. If I can't contact him, I need to know somebody to contact because he has handled us well and taken care of the issues that we've had. But the road was an issue. I know that was before and kind of in the midst of you all coming on, but it's a very serious issue. And that's an issue that puts citizens in these seats to complain. And we did not need complaints right after this contract was signed. Now, granted, I feel like this contract gives us a lot more bite. We've got more teeth now. But we don't want to use it the first month after the contract's been signed. That makes us all look bad, you all included. So that's my 2 cents on that.
One other thing, I passed by there Sunday, about 3 o'clock, going home, and the exiting gate was standing wide open. I don't know if there's anybody in there working, but they don't need to be leaving the gates open. Even if they're in there after hours, they don't need to be leaving no gates open because people think they're slipping in garbage. Perception. Boy, it's rough to be right there, ain't it?
No, I really do value y'all's feedback, like sincerely, and we take it very seriously.
Okay.
And you deserve to feel spoiled. That's what we're here for, right? We're stewards of your landfill asset. And I want you to feel that way. No, this is not an excuse, just kind of a little context of what was going on when everything kind of blew up related to the road. So sometimes in the solid waste industry, things snowball on you pretty quickly. And especially in this day and age when it's very, very difficult when things go down to get replacement parts because of supply chain issues, because of everything everyone feels in their industry. In that particular instance, after a huge rain, the primary and only pump in the wheel wash went out. Hydraulic lines in the street sweeper that we purchased specifically for that purpose all broke and went out. And then at the same time, we had both of our Cat D6 dozers go down, all within probably 4 hours of each other. The dozers are important because it prevents us from being able to really keep a tight area at the active face itself. At that time, we actually had 2 employees, one power washing by hand the wheels of vehicles going out, the other one with a garden hose by hand spraying down the wheels of vehicles that were going out. So I do believe that was a reasonable effort, doing our best to live up to our obligations in the contract.
Could that have been communicated to even myself or Larry or Tammy or
Definitely.
even one of us who could spread? Because I got phone calls.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry about that. I can't imagine being in your shoes taking those degree of calls.
You know, one of the things that was a proven fact that really slowed the mud down. Yeah, the wheel wash is great and wonderful, but it doesn't fix all the problems. Keeping the trucks out of the mud.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that cost extra gravel. I know gravel went up. I just paid a fortune to get some gravel hauled in to our terminal. So I understand that, but that's the price of business. If you're gonna be a good neighbor, Adam was on the job. Adam had slip-ups. Adam fixed them quickly. This thing didn't fix quickly. So please,
And the
take heed.
communication has not been there.
Take heed.
Yeah, it's communication is
Is
key.
the issue.
And I mean, and you have a great employee in Adam because he knew how to deal with us. He did, and I guess that's, you all probably will write him up for spoiling us, I'm sorry.
No,
But
not at all.
he was quick to communicate. I don't know how many times I would get a message, just quick blurb, hey, this is down right now. Just so that we would know, if you get a phone call, we have an answer for you. And it was just a quick shout out and, you know, hey, this is down, if somebody called you, I'm sorry, we're working on it. Or, you know, just constantly giving us updates on those things. Not all the time, but if something was down, we did get a quick little text. And as far as communication goes, I would like to get with somebody and get, who do we contact? Because I don't want to be bugging Adam if that's not his position or job at the time.
So your point of contact is David.
Okay.
David's job is to be the liaison between our operation and you all as our contract holder on the municipal side. I think David, that was sort of the first go around of that. I'm not sure he was quite prepared for the flurry and the fury.
I can attest to that.
So,
He didn't take it very
so
well.
we've talked about that, and
Okay.
I assure you that he will
Take care of it.
handle it better the next time around.
Okay.
And that communication goes, is it something we will do better at? So,
And I appreciate that, and I think that is really all that will go miles,
One thing I will tell you, you know, we started out washing the road. Well,
Right.
you get the settlement over under the guardrail. And before long, the water don't run off the side of the road, it runs down the road. And you're starting to get that build up again. So have your guys go by and look, call me. I'll be more than glad to come down and walk you through it.
That won't be necessary, I
Okay.
promise you, we got that handled. We'll make sure and get that guardrail cleaned up as well.
Well, it says a lot. Yous are supposed to be good neighbors, good stewards. We need it more now than ever.
I got you, and we will. And again, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Because it's not only does the complaints come by phone and then they come here, but they have a tendency to show up at county commission meetings and public comment
payments. And that fuels the fire for county commission to come down on this commission or to say something about Republic and his contract.
And we want you all to know where we're coming from if we come at you aggravated.
Sure.
We want you all to understand that
Sure.
why we're to that point.
Yeah.
And, you know, communication's key. It's, things are hot right now. Things are difficult and it's our job to try and make sure that we are giving the best face forward that we can give. We're trying to assist you all in that. That's our ultimate goal. You know, we all want it to be perfect and as good as we can possibly be. So if we come at you aggravated,
Yeah, hey.
we got a whole
You know what?
background back here.
It's my job to field that and make it happen on your behalf, and that's what we'll do.
I got one more thing before I leave,
Yeah, for
before
sure.
I turn you
You got
loose.
it, no worries.
Who's your compadres back there?
So we're gonna, if the topic of the payments, which I know was a news article and other items, brought with me two of so my boss is David Lockwood. They're both out of our area office in
Okay.
Atlanta. And sitting next to him is John Trollinger, who's our area director of finance, who sort of everything related to financial matters, ultimately from the entire southeast area for Republic rolls up to him. So they were here to answer any questions if there were. I know Ms. Hunter and John had a phone conversation. So if there's any additional questions or anything related to that topic in particular, wanted to make sure they were
The
here.
topics of our payments, the
Yes.
attorney and I talked to our Chip Miller, so today, and he said that the July payment was made as of today. It was received. Yes.
Very good.
So,
Very good.
and then
Go ahead.
hopefully we have it all on track, that the August payment will be, and everything's on track.
Yes, so I know, and John, if you want to speak to that at all.
Yeah, that's my sole purpose of being here. I read it in the paper, that's how I caught wind of it, and,
I wonder who sent it to you all in the paper.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
know, but
It was one of those things that got brought up at a county commission meeting, so.
and it got to my desk, so I can assure you that you will not have a late payment. That is a guarantee from me. I've let's see, Christie, I've got my finance manager with Christie, and, they've talked on the phone, so you've got contact there, and you've got contact with me, but I don't think you'll need that, just to be honest with you. You'll have your payments, probably, this one's 10 days earlier, than it's due, but you can pretty much regularly, get that about the same time every month.
Let me ask a question. Where do your checks, when you send out the checks, where do they come from? Where do they start?
That's a good question. They come from Phoenix, Arizona, they get overnighted to us and then overnighted to you.
So that's how you guys are conveying them to us? Is it overnight?
That is correct.
Okay. 'Cause when we had the issue with Santec making late payments years ago, one of the things they instituted was doing FedEx overnight, and it seemed to work pretty well.
That's exactly.
So if that's how you're doing it, that's perfect. Well, I'm just going to the right office in the county, and I think
Right.
we got that
Yeah,
straightened out now.
Yeah, we got that straightened,
Yeah.
yeah.
We got it all straightened out. Hopefully, this will never happen again for y'all. All right, I apologize. I came here to apologize and, just give you my word that will not happen again.
I appreciate
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
While we're at it, I do think there's an error on the.
Yeah, there is an error.
August 5th.
$90,000,
What's that?
$90,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a concern with the letter, because it also doesn't show the new minimum, which is 10,750. That should be prorated also. It shows the 10,572 minimum for the current period, but it does not show the new amount for the new amendment.
I think the host fees are probably correct, however, the security fees.
Yeah, I'm talking about the security.
know,
And I just looked at the verbiage.
Just let me have an opportunity to go back and just.
Redo it.
I understand, well, we're validated, and let's have a conversation about it. You know, unfortunately, there's a lot of changes that happen with all of our systems and everything else with the new changeover of the contract. We did our best to get them all right. If we miss something, we'll obviously make it right to you.
And I can assure you, if there's something missed, you'll get a check overnight, so we'll get it to you.
Okay.
Since Mr. Hollingshead is going to be the new liaison, is there any way that we can get together as far as having a checklist of what we are supposed to be provided with? For example, I've been asking, this will be the third time, for the AER report. This is the engineering report that is due to TDEC. It is a shall, not a may, by May 1st. So I'm sure that you comply, but in the past, now this AER report is fairly new, about 2 years. Before that, we had another form that was the extension of life or something. But anyway, almost with clockwork, we would get it in the May packet. We haven't seen it yet, and I'm sure that Republic has complied, but those are reports that we are required, you are required to turn in. And by contract, TDEC, whatever you supply TDEC, we're supposed to get a copy of. So if we can work on a checklist, so we have those, so you know and we know that this is what we're supposed to receive at whatever increment or period. I would appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely look into that. I'll make sure that we get a copy of the annual engineering report over to you as soon as
Okay, thank you.
And on this, do you wanna just get back with us, maybe shoot Kevin an email and he can send it out?
Definitely, yeah, if changes are necessary, we'll look at it tomorrow and turn it around to y'all very, very quickly.
Alright,
That's it. I'm just kidding.
For now.
See, you're still
Not while we
You're
can.
gonna have to return back for the customer activity report, the summary.
Okay,
so you might as well stay up here.
all right, you got it. Happy to.
Would you like to go to the cash activity report? Right, yeah, I read
So the ending balance is $4,740,458.87. The Poplar Springs subfund balance of July 2022 is $27,749.40, making the total combined operating and Poplar Springs $4,801,619.06. And then first is the landfill tonnage report for July. Our 22.5 day average is 576.87 tons. And our 30-day average is 432.65 tons. And then next is the materials classification report. We had 10,515 tons of MSW. We had 1,107 tons of special waste. We also had 1,331 tons of sludge, making the total material of 12,979, which was made up of 81% MSW, 19% special waste, and 10% sludge.
What's our cap on sludge again? Was it 15%?
15%.
15%, okay.
So part of the cap was set up when we were getting all the sludge from what was then Cape Mile.
Yeah.
And we were getting inundated with it and it was becoming very hard to manage. And Santec ultimately had a slope failure, so since that waste went away, the percentage of sludge It's just different.
Next is the waste characterization report. You'll review that. And then, next is the 2022-2023 Matlock Bend landfill tire report. We had a 26.04 tons in July. I believe that is it on my end. That's it on mine.
Airspace.
Airspace?
Airspace.
I'm not sure on that.
Hold on, sorry.
No, you're good.
I have a few. Yeah, that's the one. That's the airspace.
You just want to go over the budgeted tons?
Should be where the operations. I can't hardly read it.
So July of 2022, there's 647,549 remaining airspace.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, is that right? It's kind of, yeah,
Highlight got a little muddled there.
it's a little long.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Do you think that as long as we're getting black and whites, that you can do away with the shading, because it's extremely hard to read?
Certainly we can.
It was okay when it was in color, but when it's dark, it's very hard to read.
Okay, no problem.
Or they can put it in color.
That's more costly. I do have a request. I would like to see a schedule of all fees at the landfill. And the reason that I have a big concern, I had someone complain to me that they had taken tires to the landfill and they asked for assistance. I've asked them to look for the receipt, and they were charged $50 for assisting with throwing the tires in whatever area that they're required to be in. And if you're assessing fees that we're unaware of, we need to know. Because I think $50 for disposal or throwing the tires wherever they're thrown in, I think that's kinda high.
We've known about a disposal fee though, for tires, if they have to assist.
If there, yes, if it's a
I
large item.
You know, we've discussed that in the past when we've talked about tires and the fees on tires. It's been a bit since we discussed it.
Do you think that you could provide a schedule of fees, all the fees that you assess to your customers?
Certainly can.
Okay, thank you.
So there is no customer activity report.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct, there is no customer activity report, and I wanted to talk to you all about that. So, you all have us here to maximize the value of your very important asset, which is the landfill. Part of that is ensuring that we can do an excellent job being competitive in the marketplace to sell your airspace for what it's valued at. In order to do that, there is a certain amount of information that would be confidential to our business. That information would be individual customer list with tonnages and rates by customer. Our contract with you in section 12.8 has very specific provisions for this type of information, where it says if there's confidential information, certainly it's the commission's prerogative to view that information, but that information needs to be viewed sort of on-site at the place of business, and we can go over it and look at it with you there, rather than putting it into the public domain as part of the packet.
And as far as we putting it out to the public, I know that I pull all of those customer activity reports and I store them. I have the records keepers store them separately and they are not posted to any of our sites.
Got it, okay, so
So
that
I-
information is not disseminated to the public?
Not unless it is brought into as a request, so.
Is the concern, your concern is not on the tonnage that someone is bringing in, is that correct? Or is your concern also with the tonnage that's being brought in?
It would be both, so, you know, with the rates what they are now, there are some customers that, again, within the range of rates that the commission has set, there is some negotiation for volume-based customers, again, above the floor, certainly. But, you know, there's competition within different haulers, there's competition between, our facility and other landfill facilities. So divulging that information, you know, puts us at a competitive disadvantage, puts you all at a competitive disadvantage. So, you know, that information we would deem as confidential, to prevent from any.
Yeah, I have to disagree on that,
We
there's a
went-
couple.
Yeah,
We
And
went
that's-
through this with Santec.
Yeah, and that's why we came with this middle ground of you providing it to us, but us not publicly disclosing it unless it was specifically requested. But when you go to the contract itself under 5.1, it's required that you disclose a monthly operations report, including tonnage report showing the total amount of tons received and the source of such tonnage and respective fees charged therefore. I mean, that's what we've always gotten, and I think that's what we're entitled to get. I mean, I understand the sensitivity, and we don't intend to broadcast it and put it on the internet, but I think this commission has the right to see it.
it's going into, garbage is going into the public landfill that this county owns.
Mhm.
So that information needs to be provided to this commission. It should, and shall be, I would think.
And it has been for as long as anybody's been around here.
I think what they're saying too, though, is that they're asking for it to be not public information, that is provided to only this commission.
Correct.
So that's what we've been doing, that's not a change, I don't believe.
So this packet, none of that information is ever released to the public or disseminated to the public.
The customer activity report's been pulled
Got it.
from that before it is uploaded, but it again can be requested. I can respect what you are saying though. I feel like even Ms. Turner coming and speaking tonight also spoke on that and you know, she's aware of the tonnage and the rating and those issues. So I can understand where you're coming from. With definitely wanting that customer activity report to be
Only
Private.
this commission is what I'm
That's
hearing you say, so
definitely
what I'm
respect
hearing you
that.
saying is your request would be that it would be only for the eyes of this commission, and then if it is put at the county office building, that it is not for public viewing, only those members that are on the commission.
That's correct. So we deem that as confidential information, and the contract is very clear on, you know, that information is absolutely your prerogative to see, but not for dissemination to the public.
We are a public body. We own a public landfill, and these are public records, whether you like it or not. And we went through this with Santec, and our compromise, as the chair lady said, our compromise was not to post them on the website, but if someone made a records request, that they could see it. And I doubt seriously if anyone has made a request, we can find out.
Not that I'm aware of.
But
have
I
not
don't
had any
believe anybody
requests.
has even requested to see your list. But anyway, it is a public record, and we are a public body. So, like I said, we went through this with Santec. They withheld those records for many months, but eventually they had to surrender them because they are public records. And I think that if the press or someone that lives here in the community wants to come to the meeting and see the records, they should be able to.
Got some homework to do, ain't you?
I mean, we have to be transparent in our business because we are conducting the public's business. I understand
It's clear.
that you are a private for-profit corporation, but you are managing it for the Solid Waste Commission. So please understand our position. And I can tell you that as the chair of the Public Records Commission, we should be showing those records if there is a request made. And I hope the report is forthcoming.
I think right now, I mean, what we have in place, if you could go back and see if that is enough with your people too, that what we are doing is I am pulling them out and they are separate and they are not, posted on our website at any time.
So one thing I will add though, or throw in, is that in the past, when I was pulling the packets together and sent them off to be posted, the customer activity reports were in there. So if you go back to the older records.
Yes,
they
the
are
older
there,
records,
but
they are
not-
there, but
the
not
current batch, right?
We agreed on that process
over.
as a compromise, and I think it's reasonable, and frankly, I can't see changing that. I'm gonna have to agree with Ms. Hunter on this one, that's it. That's our information, that's our report, we have to have, clarity in exactly what's coming into the landfill and who's delivering it and what the volume and the charges and everything with it. I mean, we don't intend by any means to disclose it and advertise it, but we've gotta have that record, and that's part of our business.
Were you aware that I was pulling them and
I
not
was
posting?
not aware that they were not getting posted.
Yes, no, I am not, they are not getting posted.
Who made the decision to pull them out of the packet?
It was a joint decision for us as we're reviewing what our obligations are underneath the new contract. But ultimately, look, every decision here starts and stops with me, so I'm probably the one to stand up here and tell you it was me.
I think you need to revisit that, please. That's a public record, as they've said, you've heard that a dozen times, but
But I
again,
don't think you were aware either that I was not posting those records.
Correct, I was not aware of that.
And it even states on the website that it's only available upon request. And the fact that we haven't even had one request
No, we haven't
pretty,
had
is pretty significant.
Yeah.
That, we don't go out of our way to put it out there, but on the other hand, if anyone wants to see it, whether they're in the audience or whether they are a citizen, a resident of the state of Tennessee, they have that right. And unless it's considered confidential by the state of Tennessee, it is a public record.
Next.
I think it's still me, so just closing up I think the last item, again, filling in here is on the environmental side, TDEC side, I think is the last item on the operations report.
Yeah.
So there's 2 months in here, the month of June is not in, I don't believe the report wasn't in at the time of the last meeting. So the month of June was a completely clean inspection, no AOCs, no NOVs noted. Month of July, again, like I said previously, we had sort of the worst case scenario, snowballing, equipment issues. Right on the tail end of that is when TDEC came out to inspect the facility. And so they have some areas of concern related to flagging and some cover. We have since got that equipment up and also have some rental equipment on site, and that problem is being taken care of, is taken care of already, so we expect the August inspection.
These have been very good in the past. Everything happens at one time, doesn't it?
It does, yep, it sure seems that way.
Questions? Questions? Thank you, Vincent.
You bet, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to, old business. Told me to please put this on here for old business, so I do have that on there for old business, which is audit pricing. That is your reminder, audit pricing. Discussion. Go ahead, Steve.
So I think we're just whether we want to get this for somebody to redo the audit, because I think, when's the contract due for the audit?
I don't have a, I think this is the last year.
I think it is the last year.
So we need to visit
And
about
you
what.
said, remember, you said, you've had a lot on your plate, so
Little bit.
you wanna bring that one back next month?
Let's talk next month.
Okay,
So
because you
one-
were gonna bring it back about,
Yeah,
we had put the audit out for bid last time.
yeah.
So one thing we might want to, Kevin, I'll ask you to consider this is in terms of the duties of the auditor, is to add something to the task when they're doing the audit to review the bond and make sure from an auditor's perspective that everything looks appropriate with the bond.
Okay, on our next thing of old business, do you wanna cover that one? It's someone to fill in for me, who gets to write all these wonderful things down and do all the agendas.
I have to accept your resignation first.
I won't be here, how's that for accepting? Hopefully I'll be fishing.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah, good shot. Good shot. Okay. I believe you have elections in March, so it would be up to this body what they would like to do. I would like to say that, I feel like that you do need somebody to kind of finish out. I don't think that Mr. Jameson wanted to step up as our boss.
I'm gonna run.
So, I'm just gonna throw it out here, as chairman, I would like to make a motion that we nominate, Pat Hunter to replace me as chair on this board.
And I would second.
Wait a minute. I'm flattered, but I would like to, thank you. But I would like to wait till we have two new members, but I am very flattered by your motion.
Well, I feel like that you seem to have a grip on the things that are going on with the contract, and you seem to have a rapport with county commission that maybe you can make them see things a little bit on the nicer side.
Well, like I
This
said,
would just be, this not just be
This
an
would be
interim
until,
been interim
until March.
till March.
Until
So,
March, and then,
Please consider it.
I
because
would,
the new people that come on here are not gonna have any clue whatsoever, and you've got
Exactly.
two new ones coming on.
well, I appreciate your vote of confidence, but I would still like to wait till September. And I think if the board feels the same with two new board members, that I certainly would consider it.
I don't understand why. We gotta have somebody.
You gotta have somebody for September.
We have the agenda and minutes and everything else to get ready, and also communication in between now and then.
Well, unless you go pay.
Well, you're already our employee.
Mr. Jameson, are you
Not
sure
anymore.
you don't
Not
want
anymore.
the position?
I don't, I appreciate that confidence, but I do not have the time to put into this that it needs to be put in, just to be totally honest. I got 383 semi trucks I watch over daily, so I got a lot of headache. I really wish you would consider it though. You do a good job, you know a lot of stuff, you've been around this commission for years, and that's why that I would second your nomination.
Then I'll accept it.
Well, do we have any more nominations for the floor? Not everybody jump at once, I know it's a big one.
Well, I have to say, I feel like Commissioner Filter has been our chairman before and knows the task at hand. He's been an asset to you, and I'm sure that he would have to continue to be an asset. So it's only fair to say, is that something you would be interested in?
I sat in that chair for too long, and I would
But you
pass.
did a very good job.
And I would pass it, and I'd defer to Ms. Hunter. I think that she probably knows Robert's Rules of Order better than anybody in the county.
Right.
And it starting the meetings and stopping the meetings, I think Pat's.
Where were you to fix that tragedy at the county commission meeting that night? They had to run out and call the attorney.
But I certainly
You did a
support Pat.
wonderful job.
I certainly support Pat, and would, just based on my history.
And I told you I had a whole new respect for you after
Yeah, but I'm
stepping.
as long as I'm on the board, I'm here to support the process, whoever's chair.
Well, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We do. All right, we have a motion and a second to put Ms. Hunter as chair for interim until
March of 2023, at which time we'll have an election.
an election. And you'll have your new members on here. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Here you go.
Thank you.
So on the list, you can, if you don't have it, and we'll audit pricing on the next one too. All right, our new business, Major Mod.
Yeah, so, as was alluded to earlier in terms of the discussions with TDEC over the major mod that's gonna need to be put in place. Well, let me back up. There's currently not enough airspace to fulfill up the contractual obligation, even if the contract were to end in 2027, based on the current airspace. So Santec, a number of years ago, put forth a major mod that never was completed. But certainly the public understands the need to get the major mod in place. And really what I request from, and I guess it's a question for the board, but really to Republic, is for the next meeting, if you could work up an outline of the steps that you have to go through for a major mod to educate the board and to put some timelines on those different steps. And one of the things that the board's gonna have to do is review that package. And it will be a very large package. And I'm sure Mr. Anklin will insist on having E-size drawings, because he likes the E-size drawings. There's probably gonna be 20 or 30 of them at least to make up that complete package. But I think it would, just to put it out to Republic, I think coming up with an outline of what that process is and what your estimated timelines are. I guess one of the questions I had, based on what your understanding is with TDEC currently, are you gonna have to redo the geotechnical in terms of drilling new holes and doing all the new or updated evaluations, or where do you see that process of the geotechnical?
Yeah, so TDEC has asked us to effectively start from scratch. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that some of the folks who did the work are now the ones at TDEC who are reviewing the work. And so just from trying to make sure there's a separation of power there, they've asked us to go ahead and start from scratch. scratch. So we're gonna have to redo the hydro-geo. Certainly some of the old geotechnical, like the soil work, we can reuse.
Yeah.
But as far as the updating the hydro-geo, that's gonna have to start from the beginning.
Okay. Well, again, I think if you could come up with an outline with a schedule and just help the board understand why the process takes so long, where the reviews are, particularly for the board, what's gonna be expected of us, to review the package and understand it. And also for the board to consider is whether we want to bring in Dr. Bacchus or some other third party to review that for us, because it's a huge engineering package that we're gonna get. And, there's a lot of information there that engineers love, and lay people, it makes me go cross-eyed at some level, but just some things to consider about the major mod and how we can gracefully move through it.
I think Santec prepared something for us some months back, gave us this, it was like a spreadsheet. It was hard to read, of course, because.
Yeah.
But if that can be updated, that would be helpful.
Yep, yeah, I think I prepared that actually and
I think
tried to stumble through it in front of you, so I'll get something that's a little bit more clear as it relates to kind of how we'll be in front of you, when those milestones are and what's expected. No problem.
One other thing for the board to consider is what we might do with our adjacent property. I think Richard likes to portray what we're gonna end up with after they borrow all the soil as a giant hole in the ground. I know that's not gonna be the case, but the hillside and all that vegetation will get denuded when they're borrowing the soil. So I think one of the things the board needs to think about in the long run, but in the short run, how to help our partners design that borrow process is what are we gonna do with that property afterwards? We're gonna set up a solar farm. What could we do with the property?
I still would like to see us develop, if we can, a place for green waste.
Yeah.
I really, and I know you can't ask people to work for nothing, but I think between the collaboration of Republic, Santec, and this commission for the county of Loudon, develop a plan of all the property that we've got. And that may be one of the areas that we can do that in, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth discussing.
I think that's a good idea. I was talking with Mr. Goddard on a different issue and asked John Goddard what his thoughts were about what we could do with the property, and he immediately came up with, well, can we do something with 4-H and maybe set up some kind of a covered pavilion that 4-H could use. And I said, well, we could probably do something like that, but the board needs to decide if that's appropriate. And then he went on to tell me about how they had a vision for that for some other piece of property the county had. And it went from a real simple pavilion that was gonna be affordable to something that was really elaborate and, had a lot of bells and
It was
whistles.
gonna be an agricultural center.
Yeah, and, the price went from something that was reasonable to something that was just, way more than anybody's budget, and it essentially died. So, doing something like that is a possibility as well, and certainly talking with our colleague, Mr. Ross back there, the idea of doing maybe a mountain bike park or mountain bike trail.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are, I just like the board to start thinking about what we might do with that in the long run.
And all of these ideals are somewhat down the road.
Yeah.
Considerably down the road.
Yeah, but you gotta start planning at some point in time.
I would be really excited to do something with 4-H and for the kids, I think that would be awesome.
That would be
So just some ideas to think about.
nice.
So just
Need
be,
to have a-
so just be mindful that if you like it,
Place where
you
you
may
can
end up
have
being our champion.
Never
so.
What kids? No, I do really like that idea. And the solar farm as well, we could probably still do something with solar there if plausible and something for the kids that may turn into a joint.
And you see a lot, I mean, like at the old Loudon Hospital, that hillside has the solar panels on it now too, and they use the solar because there's nothing they can do that straight up and down hill.
Well, Jason, the Purdy property is an ideal same scenario right there.
Yeah.
That property would make a great solar hillside.
It would be.
Just something to think about, it's my appeal.
Does anybody have anything else on new business?
I would like to thank you for your service on the Solid Waste Commission and on County Commission.
Oh, thank you, appreciate that. Art, do you have anything? You're good. Okay. Anybody else?
I don't know on the resignation.
So no. All right. With that being said, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I have a motion
Second.
and I have a second. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for your service and expertise and guidance. Skill.
Well done, now you got this, okay?
Yeah.
Sometime.
I normally give these out when you do a good job. That's
So here's, I'm gonna give you my 2 cents between us. I've known David for years. He's a good salesman. He's not very good at public relations. The people that, and I guess maybe at many levels, have been spoiled over the years with Aaron, way back, a long time ago, and Cheryl. And, you know, we've had representatives from Santa that at some level of understanding the board's coming from and have to navigate that. I think you do a very good job. David is a good salesman. And he's, you know, I don't want to take that from him, and I recognize good salespeople. But David just, in my opinion, he doesn't have the people skills for managing an entity like this. He's just, you know.
It's not gonna be my place to say anything to that water. I mean, he needs to deal with the mayor.
But, you know, again, he's a good salesman, so I wouldn't want to
this.
suggest you find
And that is not
out. Again, in my opinion, as that representative that you need to have some compassion, some understanding for where, you know, this entity's coming from. And again, I think, you know, you have those
I think the
skills.
mayor told you there were two
He's
resolutions.
just, you know, he's a good salesman.
I got you said that eloquently, but I hear you loud and clear, so I do, and I appreciate you saying that.
And, you know, the question about whether he was Adam, you know, I recognize Adam is a skilled landowner.
That's what it is for us.
And you need those, and you put your most skilled guy in your most problematic place.
That's right.
Probably for the most part, that's not us.
That's right.
But it's gonna be us. You know, and Jeff is good. He knows the land business, he's a good manager. He's probably not lean enough.
Yeah, I like how he's that.
But also not necessarily mean to the, you know, the drivers or beating up the people. You know, it's understanding, you know, he probably has a budget for rock. And he's got a situation where it's getting muddy and he's got a piece of equipment that's walking. You know, you just go ahead, you order the rock ahead of time and then take the heat from you guys. How come you spend, you know, $12,000 more for rock?
No heat is coming through me. It's, you gotta spend money to make money, and the way you make money is by taking care of your customers. That's it, that's our business. Get them in and out quickly, cleanly, so they can get back and bring you more trash. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
So, yeah, being able to have the tip area not be a mobile.
Yeah.
You got, that's critical. And if you're going and, you know, you don't have that advantage of being able to push stuff around as much, I understand the challenge.
Part of the, I didn't even want to get into it here, but one of the big things is, you know, we're trying to get, you remember how we Sandec underfilled a lot of their space on those exterior slopes and then they didn't have to cover it.
Right.
Well, we want to go back because we have cover obligations, so we actually need to go back in there and pull that off and fill that sliver fill back up to level 3.
I'll tell you what.
That piece is what we're trying to work on and then get a number on it. It's really hard to have that like,
Let me send.
that same style tipping, not impossible.
Yeah.
We're just trying to navigate that,
Yeah.
but we will
So
continue
there's
to.
different, it's a different operational philosophy.
That's right. That's right, just right there, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, again, David's a good salesman, he knows the solid waste business, you know, he understands.
That's the reality.
So and that's just,
He just
brings
nothing
back
is
back into.
people person when it comes to.
Well, I just want,
Yeah.
I'm not,
If you can send
All right,
send it to
really
me,
appreciate
so
it.
Buddy can see what you mean. And Buddy can say, this is the way it is.
I don't know
That keeps it inside the
why.
loop of the.
Yeah, I know.
That would help, but as I realize
Not enough time to go around.
that,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
understand.
But we have lots of great people and ultimately it starts and stops with me and I just
You
gotta
wanna
make
write
sure
that
that
center,
team is ready to
that's
take care of you guys.
Yeah.
Because mine
Well, now, I mean, right at there's so much misinformation.
Oh, yeah.
The county commission gets anything that looks like a half misstep.
I'll tell you what,
It's blown
I will
completely out of
write
proportion.
it out.
Because you guys have hit the right
Resolutions and
Yeah.
things.
This last thing.
I'll send it to everybody.
I can imagine that.
Run enough trouble with
I know,
it.
I know.
They approve it.
Well, yeah, so we'll definitely do
Sure, I
that.
just don't see why they don't.
Yeah, thank you.
And it doesn't really matter, because once I can get it. That way I have time.
I got it. Yeah, I just don't speak, you know, I don't speak
Gotta do it.
without authority.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's reality. I'll email Ms. Hunter about it and we'll get something.
I mean, I understand, I was taking notes while you're talking, I kind of understand, but this is important now.
I don't know why that message can't get conveyed to county commission, other than the fact that I don't think they want to convey that message off the record. They want to point back over here.
Yes, and it's the same as with the payment issue. They don't really care. 10 days later, they're looking specifically to find ways to interfere or break that contract. People come in, it doesn't work, even close. They want to hire an attorney to go through all these things and see if any of these things all add up. Anything that will break the agreement.
I just don't think.
So who should check? Is Pat saying or they or check with her or who?
That's Pat.
That's key.
That's that.
Okay. And you don't see that there's any problem in getting that in the next day or two?
It got to court. I couldn't.
Yes, talk to